Hey there, bows and ghouls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here with a spellbinding episode talking about Season 3 of Sabrina.
Join us on a chilling adventure as we surprise each other, because this is, I think, the first time we've done a Hollow Weekly episode in a long time where we have no idea what each other thinks of what we're about to talk about.
Crazy, it came out a week and a day ago, and
yeah.
like we binged it like in like 2 days, so like it already feels like
old news.
Like I'm actually now that we're recording, I'm like, wait, how much do I remember?
It'll come back to you when we're talking about it. But I mean, and that the thing is that there's two things causing that effect. One is you binged it and then moved on, and then the second thing is I would love for you to try to explain the plot of this season in like a 30-second blitz, because that would be hilarious, right? Because there's like 85 plot lines in this thing.
There's a lot of jelly in this donut. And it's not bad. It's not bad, like all of it. There's some things in there that were a little like, ugh. But okay, let me try to explain it in 30 seconds. But like, spoiler alert.
No spoiler alert. There's no. I mean,
hold on. Let me get a timer because I want to be true to the 30 seconds.
You can't explain.
Well, we're gonna see how far
you can't even touch on what happened to like 3 characters in 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. Right, and I'm gonna do this so you can see it too.
Yeah,
okay, ready? Okay, so this season, Sabrina has to go get her boyfriend Nick Scratch back from hell. She goes down there successfully, but he's kind of a whiny little bitch. And then the dude made out of clay, what's his name? Caliban. He looks like some kind of Hollister model. From PacSun models, what I think I called him. He challenges Sabrina to 3 things to rule hell.
Why would she be ruling
the
hell? Devil's
trying to do things because she's a queen, and Hilda turns into a fly, and it's Cronenberg, and that's it. That's all. Damn it. I didn't get far at all, dude. I did not get far. I didn't even mention the circus,
no,
or the pagans,
right? No, right, exactly, or Jesus, or. Like, I mean, there is so much insane shit that happens.
There's a lot.
So what's your, let's do the how low can we go treatment. Just off the jump, give me what you would rate Sabrina in general, like Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, in general.
And then this season.
Across all seasons,
no,
general?
Just for season 1 and 2 combined, and then this season.
Season 1 and 2 combined. Season 1 was super awesome, super amazing. That's like a 90.
Cool.
Season 2, I'd say is like a 93.
Cool.
You know, it's just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I say, is like a 89, 85 to 90.
Interesting.
85. I would actually say 86.
Okay.
It's still really amazing.
Yep.
Okay, but what about you? What are you?
Well, I'm not gonna do that yet because I want to do something. I will do it.
Okay.
I'll get to it, but I want to do something first. But before we do that, the only other thing, like right off the top of my head, I'm curious about from you is. So, I felt like this was the scariest season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it the scariest season? Because if it is I felt like it was more horror than any of the other seasons.
There was a lot of cool. There's a lot of cool monsters.
Yep.
Like especially like the 3 dudes that ended up helping Sabrina.
Yep.
At the end, they were great. The pagans were great. The little snake bitch was real cool. There was definitely a lot more like horror stuff. It felt more horror, right? Yeah,
that's what I thought. Because that's in the end of the day, even if you don't feel like something was executed as well as the things before it, the fact that it's trending towards more horror is a good sign for us.
And Lovecraftian,
right? Definitely Lovecraftian, and like okay, now. Before I do, this is what I wanted to do before I do a rating, because I want to ask a general hypothetical question prompted by Sabrina.
Gotcha.
And the question is, how flawed does a flaw have to be? No, I'm saying it wrong. How good does something have to be to overcome a flaw no matter how bad? So I'll give you an example, right? Let's say that you loved, unlike me, the 90s It miniseries, right? But with the ridiculous ending... Right? Is it all ruined, or can you still enjoy it? So I felt like this is by far the most flawed season. There was so much shit in this season that I had real problems with, right?
Yeah.
But then it really made me think, like, are there things that just overcome flaws because they're so good at the other things they do? So Stephen King legendarily for years, if not decades, couldn't ever figure out how to end a book.
Right.
Basically, right? So like when you're reading The Shining and you realize that he just blew up the Overlook Hotel instead of, if you hadn't read it and you just went by the movies, and then he blew up Salem's Lot, and then he blew up Christine, and then he blew up right? Like, but it doesn't sink the books, right?
Yeah.
So like there are serious flaws in this season, but they don't sink the season. Is that kind of fair where we're at?
I think that's fair.
Is there anything you've enjoyed so much, but it had one thing that was just so bad it just ruined the whole thing for you?
No, I'm super optimistic about a lot of things. So even if something sucks, I just kind of go, "Oh, that sucked," and then I move on.
That part sucked, but you're going to hold on to the good.
I can hold on to the good.
Okay.
Like when you said the It miniseries, like overall, like I don't think it's that entertaining, but like there's a handful of clips I think are really entertaining.
for
so
sure.
Yeah, but like,
it doesn't ruin it for you because you don't walk away from it being like, fuck that. So this is going to date this episode, but like apropos of this is there's a lot of controversy of that relatively new movie that just came out a couple weeks ago called The Turning.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of what happened with this movie. So it's based on Turn of the Screw, which is a great Henry James story. And it's the similar plot to like the others, right? Because it's the same kind, it's the same source material. And have you heard about the ending? So basically, The Turning goes, and it's a really, really good movie. Even the people who don't like it.
It's what Mike Flanagan's doing for season 2, right?
No, The Turning
House. Isn't it based on?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't even.
I think I've read that space, but I could be wrong.
No, that makes sense because almost everyone who does like classic horror, like Hill House, eventually gets around to the Henry James story.
Right.
But the point is, so The Turning, from all accounts, even most of the reviews I've read that hate it, said that The Turning is really, really good. But then they Sopranos ending it. The movie just ends.
Oh,
like literally stops.
Like the projection, like the projection is actually
like goes black.
Yeah.
Right. So and it pissed people off so bad that they were like, "I'm giving this a low rating because it was great, but then what the hell?" So like the question is, and because I think this is Sabrina has always been flawed to me, but way better than the flaws. But this season amped up both the good and then the flaws.
I think they cancel each other out.
Okay, fair enough.
Because like the way you're describing The Turning is like it just feels like a real big case of blue balls.
Yeah,
and like that's understandable.
I mean, I guess they said the director said that her defense was that she didn't want it to be like any other horror movie, which is
nailed it.
So all right, so let's get to Sabrina.
Okay.
My rating for Sabrina is well, and a lot of that to me is I'm not familiar with the source material for Sabrina.
Same. I haven't read.
But
the
I
comics
feel
yet.
like the comics lead to a lot of this. Like that the people making this couldn't avoid it because it's coming from a comic, which obviously has a lot of these flaws, similar to Walking Dead, right? Where there's just flaws you can't escape when you're dealing with that kind of source material. But that's fine. So my feeling is that I really liked season 1, but in retrospect, I felt like I might have been giving season 1 a little more credit rating-wise because I hadn't seen anything else like that, really.
Yeah.
So I would put that at like mid-80s, and then I would put season 2 at a really solid 90, low 90s. And then this season, I'm also putting it low 90s.
Wild.
Better than the first season, but way more aggravating than the first season, which is just bizarre to me. So the thing is, like, there's no way to cover the plot lines of this.
No, like I tried in 30 seconds. Like I literally hit like 1.5.
But basically, the split that's always been inherent of Sabrina, where she wants to be a student, have a regular teenager life, and she also wants to be a witch and participate in like the satanic side of things. That gulf is widened where now she literally is leading 2 parallel lives, basically, side by side. So she's on and off becoming the queen of hell, theoretically. And then she's also really even more involved with her friends than I felt like. I felt like there was a big stretch of season 1 where she wasn't involved with her friends at all. Mm-hmm. So I like that she's always been in contact with her friends in this one.
They really there's a
way, right?
And they've given. I like the powers, like the one girl. She has like was it clairvoyance or whatever it is. Like I love that.
Yeah, totally. So I love all that, and then to me, the season hangs on the fact that there's a couple really interesting things going on here. So first of all, they're just burying men, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, basically what happens is the women are winning almost any outcome. You can just if you were placing bets on Sabrina like a boxing match, you'd be like, who's going to rule hell, Caliban the dude or Sabrina? All right, Sabrina. Who's gonna beat the Dark Lord? Like Blackwood or Madam Satan? Madam Satan, fine. Like,
right.
Like basically, it's just going that way, right? So, I think that's important because I like forget listening to this right now. Forget whether you agree or disagree with that premise. Just focus on the fact that I like when a piece of art has some kind of ruling philosophy behind it. It has a reason, a purpose for being.
Right.
They're trying to accomplish something, right? It's not just a cash grab, or it's not just let's do a bunch of jump scares or not whatever. So even if it's totally misguided, which in a lot of horror movies, the philosophy behind it could be like a cannibal holocaust. I don't like the philosophy behind a cannibal holocaust, right? But if it's got a philosophy and that's what it's trying to accomplish, I already give it like a credit for that, right?
Fair
so
enough,
this has that credit part. And then the second thing is it keeps. So what's amazing I like the Stephen King parallel because one thing that Stephen King does that a lot of people don't catch him on, they caught him early on it and talked about it, but everyone gave up because he just became the king. Like he's unstoppable, right? Is that he steals so many of his good ideas from elsewhere and just barely disguises them, right? So like Pet Sematary is Monkey's Paw. It also has the Wendigo myth in it, right? And he's doing like I think he said The Shining or one of the books was based on Poe's Mask of the Red Death. So he's basically taking mythological ideas like the Wendigo and repurposing it into his thing. And by the time he's changed it enough, you don't really notice that that's what he's doing. Like right. Salem's Lot is Dracula. I mean, it's almost the plot of Dracula, but you don't really know. You know it's vampires, but you're like, this is not. You didn't know it was a rewrite of Dracula, but in Stephen King's head, it's a rewrite of Dracula, right? So Sabrina is taking all of this stuff from Lovecraft, from mythology, from like demonology, from like whatever, and it's moving it in. So in this one, it went nuts with that. All of a sudden, we had Medusa, we had Jesus, we had Greek myths, we had ancient myths, we had Christian like iconography.
It was more of like a hobo Jesus. It wasn't.
Well, I mean, in his portrayal, but the fact that we were actually at the crucifixion scene was pretty heavy. Right? How many shows did you watch last year that reenacted the crucifixion of Jesus?
7 shows.
You're lying.
Yeah, This Is Us took a really weird turn.
I saw it on Cops, but it was just a meth guy. So, but hopefully it was just a meth guy.
It was in Kentucky.
So yeah, but here's the thing. So like they're taking all these amazing things and bringing them into. I forget what the guy that was running the pagans was. Remind me. He had a power because he's a very specific figure. He's the great god Pan. He was
Green Man.
The goat. No, he was the great god Pan. They were bringing the Green Man back. But the guy who was running
I know nothing about this guy. So
the circus guy was the great god Pan. He was the one who looked like a goat and was playing a flute. And if you looked straight at him, you went crazy, right?
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't understand.
I mean, he's actually a god, and that's very similar to like what a Wonder Woman's doing, where Wonder Woman is actually a goddess, right?
Right.
So they're bringing in gods. They're bringing it from all these different myths, and they're bringing them in. And it's just insane to try to mix these things in a recipe. It would be like doing a recipe for coffee and being like, 1 gallon coffee, 1 gallon sugar, 1 gallon cream, 1 gallon meth. All right, coffee time. And you're like, wait, too much? And what? So like, that's kind of what they're doing. And the fact that they even pull it off at all, the fact that it makes any sense at all is a miracle and kind of cool.
I think it's still got that atmosphere that I love. I will say this. The only thing, aside from, let's talk about the music real quick.
Yes.
The musical scenes, like the garage band. I thought the garage band stuff was kind of dumb, but I didn't mind.
Kind of.
Like, I thought that part was dumb.
Fucking awful.
The cheerleading music, that part to me made sense because at least it had a purpose and like the payoff at the end with the cheerleaders. But it was just like, do we really need to see Teenage Dirtbag? Like, it's fine. But
so for those who haven't seen it, this show decided to do what David Lynch did with Twin Peaks: The Return and just have full on musical numbers. Like we would just show up in a scene and there would be a Harvey Kinkle and friends playing out in like in their basement, And then I would wait for it to cut away, and then 4 minutes 30 seconds later, the song would be over. I'm like, did we just watch an entire concert?
Some of them, and I feel like they, listening to them, it lasts longer. You're just kind of like, oh god,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when you got to take a big old dump and like the light lasts longer.
Awesome.
That part was weird, but I didn't like that part didn't make me like hate it at all. I was like, oh, okay, it's in that Riverdale universe kind of thing, and Riverdale has like Josie and the Pussycats and that kind of stuff. So like that's fine.
Well, and anyone who's making content now is trying to make pieces of it that you can separate out and put online separately. So.
Yeah, and like that's cool. Like some people like really hated it. I just kind of
right.
I just kind of bumped on it. I don't know why, dude. Like I loved the actor who plays Harvey Kinkle so much in My Friend Dahmer.
Yep.
I still hate Harvey Kinkle.
He's the worst.
Why is it?
He's the worst character.
And they made Nick Scratch kind of insufferable towards the end there.
Nick Scratch always had that potential, and then he went full on insufferable for for sure.
The boyfriend is in this series. Like, come on, like
all terrible. But so let me play devil's advocate. No pun intended for this. So this happened to me halfway through because I've been hating on Harvey Kinkle from the start. I've been hating on almost all the male characters except for Blackwood for the whole course of the seasons that I've been watching this, right? Cool. And I even hated like Miss Wardwell's first husband, the one like
the principal.
Yeah, whatever he is. That like I pretty much don't like any of the male characters in this. And I think that, but then when I was watching the season halfway through, I felt something weird happen, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, all these male characters are annoying and way shallower than the female characters who are better drawn and more complicated and better dialogue and like whatever, better motivations. And then like the male characters, something would happen where something bad would happen and they would be like put out, and then a new male character would show up. In this season, it was Caliban.
Right.
Who is a possible love interest for Sabrina as it starts out, obviously. He's into her and like whatever. So, and then I realized I didn't care. I didn't care if Caliban replaced Harvey. I didn't care. And then I realized they didn't care, the female characters. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is on purpose. Yeah. I'm like, they're making these characters dumb and insufferable on purpose.
Except, and I don't know if he has a gender, the Hobgoblin.
Totally, and that's a great plot line.
I loved that guy.
That's a great plot line. He was so you hated him when you were hating him, and then when he flipped sides, you were like, oh, glad you're here. Don't leave on this side, right?
On board.
No, absolutely.
We got the Flash on our side.
He was fantastic, right? So, and then the Blackwood equivalent over in the pagan side. I liked him too. So anyone who's like Blackwood level, I like, and then anyone who's like the outsider, I like, and the people who are the regular day to day boys just going to school doing whatever, I fucking hate all of them. And I'm like, wait, that can't be accidental because it's 100%. It's like they've never missed. And I'm like, in horror movies, the interchangeable characters, like the famous thing in Star Trek is the red shirt, right? Yeah. But it's in horror movies, you have the characters that are just there to die, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what was going on here, but they're pretending it's not. And I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but however it is, it's working like it would in a horror movie.
And it makes it.
I just don't care what happens to them.
And it makes it.
And it's great.
Fresh, yeah.
Right.
No, I do like that. I will say this, though. So I still think Harvey's probably one of the more boring characters, but I do think the end of this season, he got a little bit interesting when his curse to give up his love for the one girl didn't work. Mm-hmm. I was like, for me, I was like, oh shit,
that was cool.
Like I did like that, and I liked when he went to kill. What was her name? The snake lady. So
that's Medusa. That's literally Medusa.
Okay, so it is.
They called her the Gorgon, and that's the name of Medusa.
Okay, so I liked it when because I keep wanting to call her. We used to play League of Legends, and there was a character named Cassiopeia.
That's from Greek mythology. Same story.
Okay, so I keep wanting to call her Cassie because that was what we called her for short. Like, okay, target Cassie. She's gonna use her magic damage. I liked when he tried to do the mirror thing, just like in the story, and then she broke it, and she's like, no.
I love that. I love that they changed Jesus' crucifixion scene. They changed how you kill the Medusa, because every scene that's ever been portrayed of the Medusa, you're using a mirror or a reflective and a shield to take her down. In this one, she's like, nope, I've been through that. Smash your mirror.
I've read the books.
Right, which was great. And then, like, for example, so I want to drill down on the pagans for a second, because I was pretty disappointed in the Green Man plot, but that could also be on purpose because the Green Man, which also is an amazing song by a band called XTC. If you haven't heard it, Google XTC Green
What
Man
is the Green Man?
So the Green Man myth is sort of like a druid thing. It's way back, like more ancient than Christ, and it's basically worshiping nature, but like the male version. It's the male version of Mother Nature, but evil. Right.
Gotcha.
So, like, if you heard the XTC Green Man song, the chorus is something like, "Please to bow down for the one called the Green Man. You're his child, and he's your God, and he has ultimate say over everything you do." So he's he's supposed to be a really potent force. Think of like anything you've seen from the movie Annihilation. That's the Green Man. Everything will just get overcome with growth and turn into chaos, and then he just controls it all, sort of like Poison Ivy and the Batman thing, really were, right?
Right.
So that's kind of his deal, and basically nothing happened because they never got to raise him, and we didn't get to see what happened. But again, I started to get the happening vibe where I'm like, are we fighting plants?
And
with
them holding the some of the people captive in the Green Man, you get a little Wicker Man in there.
Totally get right.
Which is I was picking up the most on because I wasn't familiar with the
for sure Wicker Man, but. If you put the Green Man thing aside, the pagans themselves were amazing. The scene where they interrupted the Hare Moon ritual, and then the witches and the pagans are kind of like, whatever.
My gosh,
that alone was worth the whole season. That entire sequence was amazing. And then when they sent the like peace pie over, and they were getting wiped out in the woods by the pagans, and all the witches they were sending were getting driven mad or like whatever. That was legitimately horror, right? And really well done.
And the tension was through the roof.
The visuals, like the above camera shot of them trying to raise the Hare Moon and all the witches in a circle laying down and all that was just gorgeously shot, right?
And the effect of them like having like the glowiness go through them looked good.
Amazing.
You know what's funny is when they ate the pie and the moon started chunking away.
Yep.
I was totally in for it.
That was so slick.
Because like it was like it could have came off like super cheesy, like they're taking chunks out of the moon. But I'm like, no,
it was so slick because the single most fundamental tenet of magic, like the very first magic that mankind has ever put into words and said, the first principle of magic is as above, so below. That's literally the first sentence of magic. That's where all magic comes from, is that principle. And then it got more sophisticated and turned into like Harry Potter and all that shit. But when Neanderthals and whatever was happening back then were coming out and they were just forming words, one of the weirdos was there like, it hasn't rained in days, I'll make it rain. And he took a stick and he put it in some water and he raised it up and he shook it. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, as above, so below. I'm going to shake rain here and it's going to make rain up there. Like, that's magic, right? That's where we invented magic. So the fact that this show is doing that, like that core principle is so cool, and it shows they understand what they're doing and the material they're working with.
You also somehow described civilization's first weirdo.
He's
like shaking a stick, and everyone's like, keep an eye out on Tong Tong.
And then it rained, and they all started worshiping him and coming over for advice.
And then he's kid.
So that the fact that they have that going on, but that any of those sequences where they're doing that, whether with like Blackwood and his egg, or it's the pagans, even behind the scenes of their circus, that part,
that whole setup was great. It made me really miss the only half season of American Horror Story I liked, which was the Freak Show, because like the circus setups in horror films are always gonna be fun.
Totally.
Even like shitty horror films that take place during a circus are fun.
Yep.
That's the only time circuses are good is when it's not a real circus.
Agreed.
It's just in a horror movie.
Agreed.
The pagans were. I liked the steady flow of season baddies that we had.
Yes.
That is what I think Sabrina's strength has always been. Oh, and even I loved this part towards the end of the season when who's the one monster who you see in the very beginning of like maybe episode 1, season 1, Haggett or Beelzebub?
Beelzebub? Okay.
No, is it Beelzebub? No. It's a stupid name. It's the sleep demon. She came back.
I don't remember that, but
yeah, at the very end, she Sabrina grabs her because I think they have her in like her pantry and like this red powder, and she uses her.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
Yeah, that was her way back in the day, and that was a great scene from season 1. I loved seeing her again. I liked seeing the principal when the students went to hell. Oh my god, the Hare Moon scene is fantastic, and I want to get to her doing the trial to rule hell because that was a great scene. But can we talk about the kids in hell? How they portrayed mortals walking through hell.
Yep.
I love that they used dead people's shoes.
Yep.
And the one guy called him on. He was like, "That's a great tactic."
Yep. That was awesome. That was such a good strategy and such a well thought through. Yeah, for sure.
And I loved when what is the name of the one boy, the girl, the person who had a transition through the season?
I can't. I mean, I'll look it up. I can't
is it?
remember off the top of my head. Although that great acting. I mean, that whole cast. Even when the characters are annoying, the cast is good.
Yeah, they're all great. I actually really like Sabrina's friends this season. I thought they had. Well, no, season 2 was good. But anyways, when he saw his uncle getting pecked at by the crows.
Yes. Yes,
that made me feel.
Oh, and we haven't even mentioned. So that's all of that is from Dante's Inferno, which is the single greatest depiction of hell in literature, and they're doing that too. I mean, they have so much good.
And then the Lovecraft stuff on top.
The Lovecraft stuff,
and then the Cronenberg fly.
Right. Well, that sequence went on way too long.
Technically, Spider, but the Cronenberging that they did.
It was cool, but it went on way too long. But I agree. But the amazing thing is, we could talk about this. And try to do justice to it and complain about the flaw. I mean, not complain, but like point out flaws or things that rubbed us the wrong way. We could do this for an hour, and there will be entire characters we wouldn't even talk about.
I know
we haven't talked about Ambrose. We haven't talked about We haven't talked about
the devil.
We haven't talked about Prudence, who is amazing in this.
My God,
in this season, right? Like, I mean, there are so many things going on in the show. So, but one of the things was the fly thing with Hildy was cool until it went on forever. But one of the things I like about Hildy, and I'm trying to think of what the parallel to this is in the horror movie realm, is I think Hildy might be the scariest character in the entire Sabrina universe. She seems like the kindest, but when she goes savage, she gets this killer stare, this not blinking killer stare, and then it's like she has saved up every bad thing she's ever wanted to do to someone because she's so nice, and then she just unleashes it in like a really quick laser and then goes back to being nice again. And she's really intimidating.
She is.
When she throws down, she's intimidating, right?
Hildy, which is weird because my friend that I play games with, who I grew up with, his last name is Hildenbrand, and we called him Hildy forever. Which is like a pretty unique name. Yeah, totally. And so then hearing them throw out Hildy throughout the series, I'm like, that's the name. That's what we call my friend.
You're like, how dare you? Copyright. But she gets revenge on the pagans, where she does a voodoo thing where she basically breaks someone limb by limb down,
like vertebrae by vertebrae, tooth to tooth.
Just the sheer almost like dispassionate joy with which she gets her revenge. I'm telling you, she is, if of all the characters I've met in the universe, she's the one I least want to mess with.
And I do think her relationship with Mr. Z, what's his name? Mr. Z. I think I love that character. I can't believe he's not related to Taika Waititi or whatever.
Totally.
It just looks.
But he's a great character.
But I was asking Alex. I wanted to see how he felt about this. I'm glad he's still alive. But do you think he maybe should have died? Because
when
at the end of the season, so remember she goes back in time and Hildy never. Killed him.
Yeah. I agree.
But like
there's no stakes to anyone dying in this show,
and I feel that a little bit. And it's still not enough to knock me for hating it. But like part of me is like, I love their relationship. I want to see them do more with it. But at the same time, I think his death could have triggered Hildy into next season going full fucking savage.
Well, and the weird thing is, we were just talking about how kind of disposable some of the characters are, particularly the male characters, but they don't get rid of anybody. They're just adding more and more. One of the reasons the plot's so extremely complicated now is we haven't lost anybody, basically. And even when you lose them, they get resurrected or they come back in a time loop or something stupid.
I mean, both the aunts get resurrected. Or in one form or another.
I mean, it's honestly terrible, but that to me that feels like something that might be age group related.
Well,
who this is written for?
I don't think
right.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I sort of forgive it just because we're dealing with heaven and hell and souls and stuff like that, and so I sort of forgive it, but it's just a hair above the line of like, okay, come on, like, can we not keep relying on this? Can we next season? Here's what I want from next season. I'm jumping like towards the end of the episode, but I just want to throw this in there because I want to see what you say. We got to go to heaven.
Oh, yeah.
We got to go to heaven next season. Like, please.
Well, they're hinting that that's kind of coming.
Yeah, they're going cosmic with it next season. But we got to go because
we already have hell. We have the Kings of Hell. We met the Kings of Hell. By the way, the Kings of Hell are super disappointing. So, I mean, I like the characters.
Look.
Yeah, no, the characters are cool. I mean, they're purposely disappointing. It's on purpose because, so here's the other thing. This is one of the fascinating things that I don't think a lot of people, I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but one of the things I find really, really interesting is, whose point of view is this story told from? I think that's one of the most fascinating things about this show, right? So don't think of a character. I'm thinking of like age group wise and like kind of like whatever, because I feel like a lot of the show is looking up from a kid's point of view up at adults. Like I feel like it's like a gaze tilted upwards, like, and the reason I'm saying that is that this show, more than any show I have ever seen in my life, is obsessed with hierarchy and gradations and ranks. They've got more ranks than the military. Everyone's the sub-prefect of the ministry of the thing. Like Harry Potter had it a little bit, but this show is obsessed with it. And it reminded me of like when I was a kid and we would like the neighborhood kids would play war and everyone would have to be like a corporal or a sergeant or like a general or like whatever. And you're like, is that what's happening here? Like when you haven't experienced like full adulthood yet, all of these ranks and threshold things, and you're eligible for this, and when can you get drafted,
your cousins, your teachers,
but I feel like the point of view of the show is looking at things and taking everything as like a badge or a rank or a promotion or a thing, and it's just obsessed with it, and they talk about it forever. There are literally blocks of dialogue, like minutes long, where people are trying to figure out, are you the queen or the princess or the regent or the, you know, I'm like, what's happening? Why do we care? Like, what's going on? But everyone's got like their place in the system and a thing, and everyone's trying to rebel against their place in that system.
I mean, I think what you just described is like being a teenager. You're looking at all these ranks. You're like, this means fucking nothing. Yeah, everyone sucks.
That's exactly right. And I think that's one of the best things about the show. And I think it also leads to some really weird stuff where it's got that Peter Pan vibe where no one can die and no one can really get hurt, no one, whatever, which is a huge detriment from the horror side of things, but like is true to their philosophy. And again, I would rather something be true to its philosophy, even if it's going to disappoint me as a horror fan. I would rather it stay true to its philosophy, because when you betray the reason why you're making something in the first place, now it's just broken. Right. So I mean, that's why I rank this higher than the first season, is I think they're just going way further down the path of what they believe in, and what they believe in is apparently, 18 ranks of
You know what's funny is I was thinking to myself, like, why do I like season 1 as much as I do, other than the fact I felt like season 1 and I thought maybe I wasn't feeling it this season, but like as we're talking about, I'm like, no, this season's so hot. Season 1 had this like mischievous haze over it, where like, and I think maybe that was just the honeymoon phase, where it's like I'm getting to learn all these characters, and I was thinking that right. I was thinking like this season, like it wasn't as mischievous, but like now that we're talking, I'm like, no, it was pretty. It totally, pretty much was.
It totally was, and that's why like the thing with Hildy turning into the spider was really cool, because that actress can pull it off. Like when she was disguising herself as normal, we knew what she looked like, and she was hanging out with Mr. Z, and he thought she looked normal. And when she was doing their playful banter and they're flirting with each other or whatever, she gave it like that little hint of sadness behind where she knows what's happening to her. But it was so subtle, like way more subtle than you would expect from a show like this. And it's those moments that put this into greatness, right? It's like what, I can't ever say her name, but it's what Vera Farmiga or whatever her name is did for Bates Motel. Right, it's the same kind of effect. It's just you got great acting going on, and they're making it like a next level thing. Like if you think about, I forget her name too, but Hilda's sister, Zelda. When you think about Zelda, so she's not really that subtle. She's more kind of like chewing the scenery and with her cigarette holder or whatever. But think about that amazing moment where she gets shot. Mm-hmm. And takes a drag on her cigarette while she's going down. I love that. Like, it was pure attitude. That's pure glorious attitude. That's something like Bette Davis would have done.
Right.
In a Hollywood, like, noir, right? Like, I mean, it was just great.
And to flip the opposite side of that, so her first death was really well done. But I also liked the plot that they sort of kind of fucked with, but not a whole lot, with her basically getting an empty nest.
Yes.
Hildy's leaving. Sabrina's got to go run hell.
Yep.
And the like that whole family dynamic plot. Because then Ambrose was always out and about.
Yep. And then everyone came back to her.
Yeah.
Because everything else in life betrays you, but your closest friends and your family. And that's what the show is doing, right? Which is genius that they're doing it, but they're doing it in this really hyperbolic way, which is extra. I mean, it's extraordinary that they're pulling it off at all, and that they haven't gone down like the cartoonish betrayal of everything that it was supposed to be Walking Dead path, because they haven't. They've amped it up, they've made it crazier, and they haven't fucked it up the way Walking Dead did. So, I mean, it's like watching someone go higher and higher up on a tightrope and juggle more and more objects. And what they're doing looks crazy, but you're like, oh my God, you haven't fallen yet or dropped anything. That's pretty
it's like when you go to when you are at like the Cirque du Soleil or whatever you say, like when people are doing it, like they're doing shit so crazy, you're like, okay, well then they're just not real. Like the show's not real.
Totally.
It's too good.
Totally.
To go to the beginning of the season,
Yes.
and I forget the girl's name, Ambrose and Prudence.
Yes.
What do you think about them two?
I love them. I love that Ambrose is the MacGyver of the magician world. He's always like fixing things or doing and it was really frustrating.
There was
no
problem.
Oh my God, dude, it was
him.
so frustrating to me when they got to like the fifth plot turn where they were like, we're doomed. The whole family's doomed. We're screwed. We're gonna run out. We don't have witch powers. We're doomed. And then Ambrose would be like, "I just thought of something." I'm like, "Fuck you! Stop!
Put that cabinet upside down. Grab a clock. Start boiling some water."
He's like the spell MacGyver, which is ridiculous. So, but I love his character. I love the actor. I love the way the how he's portraying things and kind of like his exasperation. Because he knows he can just fix it if everyone will just give him time.
Right.
Stop interfering with shit and stop like making the wrong decisions. Just give me a moment, like whatever. I think he's great. I think Prudence's arc is one of the most interesting arcs in the show. And maybe one of the more interesting arcs in supernatural shows in general, at least running right now. Because quietly, she's sort of like an MVP down there. She's like not getting a lot of that attention, but she is one of those people. Because remember, the show at its heart is about how do you combine things that shouldn't go together? How do you combine having like that free, hopeful teenage spirit and energy, like change the world energy, with like growing up and becoming an adult and having responsibilities, and how do you put those things together? How do you date? How do genders that are so, or whatever do you want to call it, like so opposite, or personalities that are so like in conflict? Like the guy's name's Harvey Kinkle, for fuck's sake. She's Sabrina Spellman. He's Harvey Kinkle. They put it in the name. They don't belong together. It's not like Romeo and like that's not how it goes, right? So like his name is ridiculous. So you're putting these things together, and Prudence is an intersection already. Yeah. She's part scary, part responsible. She's part, family loyal, and part like out for herself. She's already down the path of maybe you can combine these things into a thing. Maybe if you put chocolate and peanut butter together, maybe it becomes something better. She's like, maybe if I stay scary, but also do the right thing sometimes, like where will we head? And she heads down a really interesting path.
I think she's probably had the best arc out of all 3 seasons because she's grown the most.
But you don't really notice her.
What you're right, because as you were talking about, like I imagine like when the Indiana Jones, like when they're flying like the little red line, I was imagining that as her arc, and it's just like gone up, and I'm like, oh, okay, but it wasn't like in your face,
right?
And then her sister, the Asian lady, her going batshit and being.
She was great. She was great when she was crazy, because the great guy Pan drove her crazy, and she was scary.
She was actually really terrifying. They did kill the one sister though. They did kill her off.
She reminded me of she reminded me of, no one but me is going to remember this, but there was a character named Callista in the Xena Warrior Princess series.
Was it the blonde lady?
It was the blonde who played crazy and played it with like that manic energy behind her eyes. Like I'm just going to kill everything in my path, but look like I'm the sweetest thing
Right.
in the world, right? And Prudence's sister had that sort of like vibe. So I thought that was really cool. And then can we talk for a second about like, because it was aggravating me, but then like this show's casting a spell on me, I started to like it. That's weird. Am I like, are we really recording this, or am I like
that's
trapped,
what I'm saying, like
being have a spells cast on me? Because like with anything else, like when we watch things recently, because it has not been a great start to the year for horror in the movie sense.
that's been a great start for
Right?
life, dude.
Well, for sure. But you know, we're watching things that are aggravating, and they aggravate, and then they stay aggravated. But I couldn't stay aggravated in this show. I don't know why. I'm starting to suspect they have a voodoo doll of me down there somewhere. But
well, that's the other. That's what. So no, keep going.
The thing is, they changed who's being worshipped, right? And it got really weird because they didn't worship the Dark Lord anymore. At the start of the season, they had the Dark Lord imprisoned, and they were worshiping to Lilith.
Lilith, yeah.
And I didn't buy that at all, right? Like, you can't worship to Lilith. Lilith is, like, insecure. She's a great character, but as soon as she was down in hell, ruling hell for a minute, and they were like, Dark Lord's coming, and she, like, cut and ran. Like, she was like...
There was a lot of really slick, subtle things they did with Lilith.
She's amazing. And Mrs. Wardwell and all those things. So, that's true, but we'll go back to her in a second. But, she's an amazing character, but... she's not particularly powerful or particularly brave. She's just really cunning, and she's really good at manipulating things to come out to like an end she's trying to get to, right?
Right.
But you wouldn't worship her. It's like worshiping Bill Belichick. He's manipulative. He's cunning, but you'll pray to Bill Belichick.
It's kind of like all they had. They're like,
right, exactly.
They did crown her though, King of Hell. But at the end of season 2.
They did, but again, they started playing with these theories of, there was even a moment in the show where they were saying that hell might be the power source for evil and not the devil. And they were trying to negate the devil's power by finding where he derives his power from. They were like, let's find the battery. They literally said that line. And then they were like, no, it doesn't come from hell. It comes from inside the devil. The devil's power comes from inside him, not from hell. So they were even trying to figure out, like, what runs this whole thing? Like, right? What's the power source of this? Mm-hmm. And while they're playing with those concepts, they switch it and decide to worship Hecate. Now let me tell you why that is fascinating to me. Because that's ancient Greek, like, druid moon worship stuff. That's the oldest stuff we know of, right? That's like the ancient Egyptian. Like, you can't go farther back than moon worship. It's as far back as you can go, right? And the fact that they went back past Christianity, right? They went way back. They're kind of saying that the older it is, the more powerful it is. But also, the longer it has time to run out of power and just kind of run down and vanish, right? So the further back something goes, the more powerful it is. As a matter of fact, the pagans were even scoffing at the Dark Lord, Satan, because they were like, we're before him, right? So everything's trying to figure out its fucking hierarchy. This is what I'm trying to tell you. No matter where you chase in the show, they're trying to figure out, where does that stack? Is it above this? Is it below that? Is it above this? But they're doing it in a storytelling way that you don't notice, right? Which is fascinating to me. I mean, Dante's circles of hell are literally 9 circles of hell on top of each other in order. No wonder they were fascinated by that shit.
There was a moment where Lilith, I think it was when Sabrina decided to do the challenges, or she did something where she was stepping into her power, and she kind of gives like this, like, I'm proud of you smirk. Mm-hmm. And it kind of reminded me, did you and Jenny ever watch the morning show?
No, not yet.
There's a lot of, anytime someone's acting in that show, you are trying to figure out if it's acting in their own self, interest,
public persona. Right.
Yeah. Totally. And I felt like they did that really well with her this season because of how many times power was getting thrown around. There's 2 characters I want to get to. One,
there's more.
The Haitian. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, we haven't talked about the fucking dude.
Right.
We haven't talked about the group of witches at the end. The Haitian
witches
lady
that are summoned, the voodoo.
Oh my god!
All of that.
The witches
amazing.
that were summoned. I thought that was the coolest assembly of witches. First of all, I love horror movie witches.
Yeah, that went straight the craft. That whole sequence.
You had the girl who looked like she was like some drowned mummy. You had the Haitian lady. You had like the old school kind of like classic looking witch. Like, I loved all of it, and the fact that the one girl soiled the grounds around the funeral home.
Yep.
Like the camaraderie that they had together of like teaming up. Like honestly, that was some like Avengers level shit.
And so, and I know that I keep making this point, but like just thinking out loud, the witch that controlled Voodoo, she ended up becoming she was basically the equal. She saved all of them, and she was basically the equal in power of Hilda and Zelda.
Right.
So you can tell the show approves of that character. You could tell that was like, they knew that character was someone they were going to put on par with all of their top
Dude, I just
people.
loved when they went to New Orleans.
Oh, that was incredible. But of all the religions, I mean, they brought everything into this, right? They got Greek, they got Egyptian, they got Christian, everything is in here. Mm-hmm. But Voodoo is a fascinating case because Voodoo is a hybrid, right? So like Voodoo is an older thing they got mashed together with Christianity. That's why there's like saints and kind of that kind of in it as well. So it's a combination of things, which is right. When the hierarchy gets mixed, you get stronger if you can bring two things together and keep them together, right?
Right.
So the fact that they are exploring that with these characters and it's going so well, and when you think about how they even brought the Green Man down, even that was a combination. They like tricked him and put Pestilence, the disease witch, inside the Wicker Man. And it ate it out from inside, right? Because if you combine the wrong things, they die. If you combine the right things, you get stronger. This is the philosophy of this show.
Wow.
Right?
We figured it out. We don't even need to talk about the rest.
We figured it out, which is, I don't know.
Dude, I got to be honest. As soon as you said that, my gut was like, now I kind of want to rewatch it. Like, I don't really rewatch TV, you know,
right,
because it takes, it's an investment, but that made me kind of want to go back and check some of that shit out. I loved all those witches. I loved the voodoo lady. I loved the voodoo lady. Yep. Anytime I play like a video game, there's like a voodoo option, like a voodoo character.
Or BattleBots, who was our favorite.
Oh
bot.
My God, Witch Doctor. God,
right?
I hope they come back stronger this year. Totally. They were all great. Mm-hmm. What did you think about the Lovecraft stuff? So like, even starting with them finding, God, I always forget his name. He looked like Bob Ross when they found him for the first time.
Oh, Blackwood.
Blackwood.
Yeah.
Who also, I mean, there's, even though, like...
we haven't even talked about the Dark Lord.
Dude, all the acting of this show is so goddamn good. But what do you think about them discovering him and it had been decades?
I mean, I don't like a lot of the time loop stuff because it just, again, and this is what I was telling Jenny when I was getting aggravated watching this in real time before they cast a spell on me and made me like it all retroactively.
That's how I get you.
Is I was turning to her and I was like, look, I'm going to give you one, but I can't give you two. You can't have everyone who dies can get just brought back.
Right, yeah.
Plus, anyone we're looking at could be someone else because of what they call the glamour. They can disguise each other as other things. Like, they keep doing that switch where, I mean, it's all the plot points turn on that. Like, literally, they thought they were putting someone in the Wicker Man, but it was someone disguised as someone else. When they were doing the three relics, Caliban was disguising himself as Judas, buried in the stone, but it was really Caliban. Like, they keep doing this shit. Like, so everyone can look like anyone else. No one can really die, right? And then on top of that, you're time traveling. Fuck you. That's way too much shit in this soup. Like, you've one of those things takes away stakes in a horror movie or show. You have three. You can time travel, resurrect, and disguise yourself.
You know
Get the fuck out of here.
No, dude. So you discovered like the philosophy of the show. They discovered that if you add all the things that make bullshit, it equals
it becomes glorious.
Yeah, it just becomes glorious.
They cancel each other out, right?
Yeah. So it's like, well, fuck you.
Like a negative integer plus a negative integer is a positive integer.
Exactly. That is what they have discovered. Hats off to them.
So Stephen King should blow up more shit like all the time.
If the Overlook had blown up and then all the parts fucked each other. It would have been a perfect ending.
Every room would have been that weirdo bear room or whatever was going on. So, but yeah, right.
But Blackwood.
Yes, so the fact that almost all of the male characters have no arc. Their arc's a flat line. Like Blackwood hasn't changed at all.
He's went backwards. He's trying to like they broke him.
Totally.
He's trying to get his shit together.
But he's not. He's just Pinky and the Braining it. Like still, like he's just trying to take over the world. He's not like he's like whatever. And that's the thing is, I think they're the bass notes in the music structure, right? They're just the thing that they're building on, and I think they're doing it on purpose.
I think you discovered how season 3 is gonna end, or season 4, because at one point in time, and I loved this part, Sabrina talked about Hell joining forces with Heaven, combining the good, bad, make it bad.
Yes,
I have a theory, and and it ties into what you just said, because the Dark Lord himself played a pretty minor-ish role this season. Like, he was locked up a lot of the time, barely held on his power. And they talked about the Elder Gods. So now we know we have Earth, Heaven, Hell, and then this bigger...
And that egg hatch, that's literally a spoiler at the end of the whole season.
Yeah.
Right.
People are saying it's Cthulhu, but that's what everyone's going to say when it's Lovecraft related.
Of course.
Who the fuck knows? There's like 1,000 dudes. But... combining Heaven and Hell to defeat the Elder Gods.
Totally.
Do you
totally?
And that's what I'm thinking. Like, we got to go to Heaven next season because do you remember the angels?
I mean,
from
it's
season
very
1?
Avengers, right? Like it's very Loki.
Like it has to
will work against you until something bigger puts everything in threat, and then he'll work with you to ward off whatever the other thing is until the other thing goes away, and then he'll turn into an asshole again. Right?
Exactly. But do you remember the angels from season 1?
I do.
Just the fact that they were like this holier than anything else and complete assholes. I want more of those guys. Like there has not been. Oh my god, we didn't even get to the fucking.
You see,
God, dude. Oh my god.
That's why I was surprised you rated the season lower because I just felt like there was so much going on here. I'm like, this is gonna be a 4-hour episode, first of all, and then second of all, I was like,
why did I rate it a lower?
So much of it was good and great and interesting, and they were planing away a lot of the shit that I felt like. So I'll give you an example. I couldn't rate this season lower than season 2 or season 1 for just one reason. Just one reason that I can sum it up in 2 words. You ready? The mines. Thank fucking Christ we weren't in the mines. The mines were terrible.
So right.
Fuck that Indiana Jones Temple of Doom shit. Like it was terrible, man. And then they figured out that was terrible, and they were like, let's spend more time in hell with all this whatever, and let's not spend time in the mines looking at cave drawings. What was happening over there? They went insane with this show, and it worked.
I changed my initial rating. I think season 3. Do I think it's the best? I still don't think it's the best. I think it's probably second best.
Okay.
Still, I think it's definitely good.
They had that whole addiction subplot with Nick Scratch and the Dark Lord. I remember we're talking about combining things to make them stronger. Let me give you a counterexample. They combined Blackwood and the Dark Lord. They were living in each other, and they got stronger. Like they were plotting in there and switching out. Like, how are we going to get out of this trap? Who's going to do what? Like whatever, right? But it was a temporary alliance where they didn't learn anything from each other because they're men. But they still it was interesting that they were inside. They were conferring inside one body, right? Like Jekyll and Hyde style.
I think I need to watch this season again. To be honest, I think it's really grown on me just talking about it because we didn't discuss, we haven't had this. This is our first discussion about the.
Yeah, we usually pre-talk
about the season. But I like what they did with Blackwood. I liked what they did with the devil himself. I think he is really well portrayed.
Lucifer Morningstar, yeah, for sure.
I want to see him do more, and I think we're gonna get that next season. Now that we have. He's going to be ruling with dual Sabrina. Now,
yeah, I agree. But let me tell you, so the only thing that makes me not put this above the other seasons is, so where's the flaw? Like, we now like, I got to shake myself out of the spell. And
so that's okay.
So the flaw is the Queen Elizabeth ending. I get why it was happening.
Right.
But it was fucking terrible. Like, you can't convince me that was not awful. She shouldn't have been dressed up like that. Now, let me tell you why they did that. My suspicion is just like the movie Elizabeth with Kate Blanchett, the idea behind that, and just like actual history, the idea behind that was nobody was taking women seriously as figures of authority back then when she was doing it, like 1600s or whatever that was. So she was arming herself in the trappings of something that would be intimidating, but she needed the female version of it, right? She couldn't dress up like put on a sword and dress up like a pirate and like whatever. She was giving them what's the most powerful image I can project that people will look up to and semi-worship and do the thing. And there's a trick to it, because the idea behind it is she was known as the Virgin Queen. It's her virginity that's part of the power of it, right? That's why she's in whiteface, because she's literally portraying herself as super innocent, like untouchable, like you like not corrupted of the world, better than this world, right? It's fucked up. It's a fucked up way of thinking about things, right? But that's where it came from, right? So then they gave it to Sabrina at the end of it, right? And obviously Sabrina in the school or at home with her aunts, and Sabrina there, I think they're going to diverge and there's going to be two Sabrinas. I wouldn't be surprised to see the two Sabrinas fighting each other, right?
Yeah.
Because now there's literally two of them once the time loop kind of split wide, which is also like whatever. It's going to frustrate me until it doesn't. So,
well, you're definitely out of the spell.
Right. But I don't, first of all, there's a really tricky meaning behind a lot of why that looks the way it looks, and it might be too big for the show, right? But second, and I trust them. They know obviously way better than me at what they're doing. So let's assume that they know all they know the hand grenade that they're holding, right? They know where the pin is. They know, like, you know, so they know how big the charge is. So let's assume that they know that and they're planning they can handle it. I still don't like it, and the reason I still don't like it is because there was no need for it to be that choice, right? So like Lucifer Morningstar looks like any devil you see portrayed in modern style, like literally the show Lucifer, right? Like, just like, I mean, he looks like a male model, right? With a sneer. That's what he looks like. So all Lucifer Morningstar has to do in the morning is wake up, put on a sport coat, get his sneer going, and he's out. But Sabrina, Queen of Hell, is going to take 4 hours to get dressed to go hold court on a thing.
I see
or
what
whatever.
you're saying.
And even if it's only a ceremonial thing, and she's not going to look like
I thought that was a ceremonial.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I get that. But even if you're then that's also ridiculous, because when Queen Elizabeth did it, that's how she looked in public for the rest of time. So either we're stuck with that, which I think is dumb, or she's not going to do it again, in which case, why does she do it in the first place, right? For that one ritual, she already had intimidated the shit out of everybody, right? The kings of hell were all like worshiping her,
right?
And like whatever. Like, I just felt like it almost felt like a shortcut to cram more meaning into something, and that their insane meaning grabbing from every direction failed them for one time. And suspiciously, when they grab from mythology, it worked. When they grab from religion, it worked. And when they grab from history, it's failed to me. Right? So stay off of history. Don't grab for more history. Don't give me Jack the Ripper. Don't give me fucking like Countess Bathory, like the female Dracula, whatever. Stay the fuck away. Go to religion. Go to myth, because you rule there. But don't make her Queen Elizabeth. It pissed me off.
Yeah. I thought it was just pure stylistic kind of stuff. I mean,
if I showed you the end of the movie Elizabeth, the Kate Blanchett one, it's almost shot for shot. I mean, they literally just stole it. And they're too creative and too original for that. But anyway,
that's how you shoot.
Only I have strong an opinion on it.
I think you do. I think every director would shoot, except for David Lynch, would shoot all ceremonial, high society things like that. Probably the same. And I didn't really bump on it that much. I like the idea of the dual Sabrinas, because, I mean, how many people wish they could be in two places at once?
I liked Dual Sabrinas. The show had to go there. I just didn't like the Queen Elizabeth one.
Oh, so that's the only. So that's what you bumped on.
No, I love Dual Sabrinas.
Oh, all right. Well,
the Queen Elizabeth look and everything they were bringing into it and all that shit, I just felt like was terrible.
I will say this.
And remember, the mine sequence that we hate, that was also based on history. So every time they go to history, I feel like it's a fail.
I think we should pass that message along. Like we should pull from
hands
history.
off.
We'd be like, well, maybe if you can find something in like a mythology book, maybe it'll play a little better. No, I'll be damned though if we see Sabrina at every scene. She's in. I'll be like, damn it, he was right.
That's what I'm saying.
We got 8 episodes. I will say this: they did stick us with 8 episodes. They're going down an episode.
They are.
So
although they were longer, right?
I think they were about the same.
Oh, never mind.
But if you could just give us an extra.
Oh, you're right.
episode,
I'm thinking of The Outsider. Never mind.
Give us an extra episode. Is there any character?
Why? It took us 4 hours to talk about this one. Fuck that.
Because I love it, dude. I'm already sitting, dude. I'm not gonna lie. We're sitting here talking. I'm already sitting there going, they kind of drop, those trailers when we least expect it. Another season's right around the corner. Here's what I hope. Though. I hope they give this show. I don't want it to run into like what Vampire Diaries and all that shows
Right.
with 17 seasons. But if we could get like 4 more solid ass.
I mean,
seasons.
I see why you're saying that, but to be honest with you, with their crazy recipe, I'm in for however long they can take it before they fall down, because who knows how long they can take. Because again, that's the thing is, I wouldn't have recommended they write any of this the way they wrote it. If imagine as streamlined a thinker as I try to be, imagine them coming in and being like writer room day one, like, okay, season 3, what do you think? All right, well look, I was doing some research, and let me tell you. Greek mythology, Indian mythology, Egyptian mythology, Green Man, Celtic mythology, Druid mythology, Voodoo. Christianity, Voodoo. Like, let's do it all. I'd be like, you just have no idea.
You just brought in a book.
Like, a book? You just brought in the library. But it's working. And so if they would recommend that they would go 20 seasons, I would say no again. But I was wrong once. Let's see how far they can take it. The only thing is that because... honestly, like, again, it all kind of hangs on eras of life, right? So, like, when you think about The Crown, the show The Crown, they just announced that the 5th season will be the last.
Right.
Thank God, because I wouldn't want to watch a season of Jeffrey Epstein hanging out with Prince Andrew or whoever, like, doing these modern things. Like, what? I mean, who wants to see Queen Elizabeth when she's 100? She must spend half her day on the toilet. So like there's a time where it runs out, just the era of life, right? So Sabrina as a 42-year-old accountant, I'm not in for her, which is fine. But if they can keep it crazy and keep amping it up and keep going whatever, and the time of life, era of life thing doesn't trip it up, then let's see how far they go.
I'll buy that. Is there any character we missed?
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure there is. I mean, obviously, there's got to be, right? There was more pagans than the whatever. There were the pig kids. Remember, people got changed into pig. There was Circe. Circe's from Greek mythology. She's the one who sings to you, and you're in a ship, and you're on the ship, and she sings a beautiful song to you, and you're enchanted. You head towards the song, and then your ship breaks up on the rocks because she's luring you to destruction. Or she's going to hypnotize you or eat you or whatever she's going to do, like whatever. They put that in there. Yeah.
Dude, you know what character we haven't talked about?
Oh, no.
And I think we can end it on these 3. Unless
3?
No, we didn't talk about how Vlad the Impaler is in this season,
yeah, I hated
dude.
that too, to be honest.
What?
I hated
No,
that.
dude.
Oh, I hated that.
No.
It's terrible, man.
Oh, my God.
I did love Pontius Pilate and Judas. I thought those were great. But the Count Dracula name drop was so cameo hard. Oh, my God. That bothered me. What'd you like about it?
In fact, it was fucking Dracula, dude. What do you mean?
Well, you're a monster squad.
What I liked about it, dude, he came up with that mustache, and I was like, they're going for like the
well, I mean, that's the first time he's ever been portrayed
like that
accurately, which is cool. But it's history, and I hated it. Wait, it's history.
Wow.
I hated it. Holy shit. That's my code for this. I hate everything they do that's historical because he's a real person.
Dude, season 4 comes out. They're like, it's a big history lesson. We're merging off from the mythology, and we're going right to hardcore history.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I get why you liked it. I just didn't like. I didn't.
I liked all 3 of them. Like the guy that came out of the tree with the crown. Like that was awesome.
And by the way, I can't believe we haven't mentioned any of this yet, but. They were stealing from Shakespeare all over the place. And that Shakespeare is my favorite thing in the universe that's artistic, right? So, like, Sycorax is... So, let me give you the story. Shakespeare's... What's considered to be his last play, or at least his last great play, is called The Tempest, right? The Tempest, the ship gets lured on the rocks and breaks up. Okay. Okay, but in The Tempest, there's a magician, Prospero, who was exiled from his home country, and he's raising his daughter. And on the island, he has a spirit that serves him named Ariel, who's good, and a spirit who serves him who hates serving him, who wants to break away, and his name is Caliban. And his mother is named Sycorax. And Sycorax is a person who traps people into trees and makes them suffer forever in the tree because she's a witch. Right? They have like hardcore Shakespeare shit going on in this show too. They were taking from everywhere. It's incredible.
Wow.
It's absolutely incredible. I admire the sheer
it's like a slow cooker recipe.
nerve of it. The fact that they could fit all that into a thing.
Damn.
So it's a matter of fact that the movie you love, the sci-fi movie Forbidden Planet. With Leslie Nielsen and Robbie the Robot, is a remake of the play The Tempest. Plot for play. You know how he's on the planet with his daughter, and then the sailors come, or the starship people come. That's the plot of The Tempest. You've seen the play The Tempest, you just don't know it.
Damn.
Right? So I mean, that's in that show they took Caliban out. They made Caliban the robot. In that movie, the robot is Caliban, and he doesn't rebel. He doesn't care because he's a robot. So they solved the uncomfortable slave metaphor by making it a fucking Michelin Man robot. But regardless, this show is like, I'm telling you, there is someone behind this show who has read more than any of us. I don't know who they are, but
it's probably like Doctor Strange. You know, like when he's sleeping, he's still reading books and shit. Like I feel like that's who's probably making the show.
Probably is. So I'm telling you, man, I can feel that I sold you on this season as a thing because I think it's a season to be admired. I think it's interesting what they're doing, and I think it'll really speak to people. And I almost wish that I had seen it like as a 12-year-old or 13-year-old, just kind of like in that age group that it's sort of meant for, because I feel like it would be one of those things that would float into your head time to time when you were growing up and be like, I'm going to do what Sabrina did, or I'm going to do like whatever. I think it's one of those things that can connect to people, even like subconsciously, like whatever, and teach some interesting lessons, or even like unsettle some truths that aren't really true, which is even more important than learning lessons. I love it. I think it's great.
I love it. It's right now. It's like the best source for creatures.
Yeah, and since The Outsider went to dog shit, it managed to be the first 2 episodes were some of the best television I've seen out of the horror realm in a couple years, or at least stands with. And then every episode after that has been progressively worse and worse.
Is the one guy still directing them?
I haven't even looked. I've been so disappointed. I was just like walking away. Like literally the last episode, Jenny couldn't even get through it. She was so bored. She fell asleep twice. And I'm a slow born person. Like I'm an A24. Like I like that kind of stuff. But this is taking it way too far. I mean, there were literally times where I don't want to review the show right now. But the point is, what I had going right now was I was looking forward to Westworld because I like it, but it's not out yet. And The Outsider was there getting me by, and then Sabrina came out, but I binged it.
Yeah.
So now The Outsider is terrible, and who knows? It could come back. It's got more episodes. But like for right now, Sabrina was the best thing.
Fill that gap with Watchmen, because then
totally,
because now it's all out, so you can binge that.
Yeah, finally, right. So recommend the show. Let us know what you think of this show. Let us know who your top 88 characters.
Yeah, who the top 88 characters are.
And tell us who your most disappointing 200 characters in Sabrina.
Yeah, the follow-up list, the 200 others. Let us know what your top 16 favorite plot lines were, and let us know what your 8 least favorite plot lines were. What else can we?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What 100 historical events should they not write about next year? Let us know if Midway shows up or D-Day is in there. I'm gonna freak out.
You're gonna see old Japanese planes fly by. We're like, oh shit, they're going for it. They're going for it. Until next time, stay scary, watch a bunch of horror movies. Talk to you guys later. Bye.